And you don't get that, after you work your entire life. Anyway, here we go.
No, it's
Here we go. Hold on, Lorenda. I'm bringing you on here back. We're back. Lorenda Phillips works for a company, retired from sports, and she works with athletes how to manage their money and how they don't go broke. There are plenty of stories. She's calling Bay Area. I know of, my listeners know me in sports history. The great Ernie Lombardi, that goes back a while and all this. But here was a catcher who won the batting title, which is practically unheard of back in the day, prior to World War II, okay? And he was a great catcher for the Cincinnati Reds. And then he tried to stay on playing baseball as long as he could, because it's all he knew. He became very good at holding out under the code of the day for that extra dollar, but it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. And as a result, it had made him very difficult to go back to front offices looking for baseball jobs. And by the time he was in his 60s, he was living in poverty and pumping gas. Okay, now that's a day where you didn't make tremendous money, although major leaguers of that era did probably make more than the common man. Certainly the stars did and such. But anyway, that's one of the things here. And of course, with the Appalachian League season starting next year, there'll be a lot of pro athletes around here that figure to be in a similar boat, maybe to Lombardi, and I'll ask her about this here. But I guess one of the things I look at, you talk about how, it's easy to be unsympathetic. Hey, you had it all and you blew it, that sort of thing. And I'll ask you this. I think I've only known one professional athlete, Rafael Belliard, who drove an economy car. Okay, I remember when I was covering the Steelers, it was a big thing that they signed a backup defensive back. Now, admittedly, you make good money playing in the NFL, even if it was backup defensive back. And the first thing he had to do to keep up with his teammates was to buy a Humvee. A used Humvee, but a Humvee nevertheless. That was what he had to do to fit in with the Pittsburgh Steelers as a backup defensive back. So what do you tell people about that culture? Hey, now you got to dress up finest suits. Now you're in the big leagues now. That economy car isn't going to cut it. What do you tell athletes about that culture that they get into playing in big league sports?
Yeah, it's another really great thing. Actually, the marquee players sort of egg the mid-range players on. Like, They give them a hard time, which it seems like, oh my God, really? But no, they do. And it's all inside of fun and camaraderie, but it comes with a very high price tag. So what I do is, it's a really good point. What I do is I try to get them while they're playing. That's the other reason why I try to get them. And say, stop. Take a look around. Get out of the sport for a moment in your thinking. And look at what people who really do well in the world drive. Well, I don't know what they drive. Yeah, that's the point. They don't drive around that flashy things. And whatever you do, do not buy. Rent, don't buy these things. Let's take a look at the budget. Let's create a budget to see what you can afford. What can you spend? And, think back when you were in your 20s, early 20s, I used to certainly think back. I don't recall having a budget, but I didn't make the kind of money they do for the short amount of time they do. So I know in my heart and in my head that the money's not going to last. I know that. But I have to at least get them used to a budget and how to work with the money they do have. I don't actually aid them in financial planning, but I can do financial coaching. Like, this is how much you got per month. What do you need to spend it on? What kind of money do you want for fun? And then they have to live with it. It's all about choices. But they see somebody actually says, stop. Let's take a look. Stop giving your money to your family, for instance. Some athletes do that. Some athletes, as you've indicated, spend way too much on luxury items like automobiles. But they also spend way too much on jewelry, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, then there are the guys that just didn't. I just talked to somebody last night who is just starting to be a financial advisor. He hopped around for 6 years in the NFL, never settling down. He was a tight end, and he finally got settled. But he had a wife, and he did have a child. So he kind of had to settle. I asked him, he settled down. I said, did you ever buy, like, hot cars? And he says, no. Even though he was in the draft. He got third round draft pick. He said, I got a signing bonus. I got paid well. But I knew this. My wife kept saying, no, no, no. And I said, did you get razzed in the locker room or in practice? He says, all the time. But, I knew that it was my wife and my family that I was mostly committed. But he had a little bit, and I told him, I said, you had a little bit more of a mature outlook. You were probably old for your age. And he said, I kind of was. But he was heartbroken when he was, the first time that he was cut. Much like you were saying about yours, us
Yeah.
for the Steelers. Yeah.
And
He was heartbroken.
And when you lose a job, I mean, and think of it also yourself. If you ever lost a job or something that you really liked, or a career track position, what that is like. And although you did mention, Herm Edwards saying, okay, pro sports is an opportunity, not a career. Chuck Noll used to always say, you've got to think about your life's work. What is that? And many of the old Steelers actually had very successful secondary careers because of that. Not all of them. And Joe Gilliam, a famous example. Not all of them, but I mean, think about how even today Terry Bradshaw is part of the football world, and a prominent part of it at that. Anyway, we're talking to retired from sports Lorenda Phillips. We're about ready to get an influx of professional athletes to come in here in the Tri-Cities with our 5 minor league baseball teams around here. They're going to be rookie-level players. A lot of them will have just been drafted or just been signed. They'll get a signing bonus, maybe even in 6 figures, but then they will make a pauper's wage of about $1,000, a little bit more than $1,000 a month. And it really, I believe, only lasts for the 3 months that they'll be in the Appalachian League. Now, every teenager, every 20-something, they want to buy that nice car. I remember Alex Ruiz, who used to play first base for the Johnson City Cardinals, was from Venezuela. He went out, bought a late model Camaro, and when his career ended, he made darn well sure he didn't drive it to Venezuela. He had it shipped, But still, okay, you've got something like this. I know I've talked to plenty of guys whose money ran out real fast, even though they had a nice signing bonus. If you're in that Appalachian League boat, you've signed for, let's say, $100,000. How do you keep that going?
Yeah. Well, first of all, you've got to really get in your mind. It's a mindset thing first, right? You've got to really get it in your head. It ain't going to last long. So that's the first thing. And to act and to not listen to the noise out there, the confusion and noise, I call it, that says otherwise. No, it's not going to last long. Okay, so given that, what can you? And you want to do things, and you're young. So, the only thing I can say is to return to a budget. You've got to budget your money. So, you want a hot car that costs, I don't know, 80,000. 50,000, something like I don't know. It'd be like that. Just know that is where it's going to go. It's going to take off right off the top. Then what are you going to do if you're going to be making about $1,000 a month later, $2,000? So how is that going to work? I love what you said. Like, how is that going to work in your life? Not, riding up and down to practice, but your life. And know that this is the beginning of your life. This isn't your life, unless you're one of the very lucky and talented that get up into the ranks. So I'd say make a budget, get real about how much money is needed to live, and also what you have, and then make some decisions. And if your heart says, I got to have this, I say, go get it. But there are consequences. There are consequences to everything you do. And it would not be a choice I would make. And I don't think, but the smart guys, and I mean this, the smart guys would not make that choice. And I know Herm Edwards would say that. Smart guys don't do that shit. Unless they're the marquee players. That's a whole other conversation. They also have loss and purpose and all that stuff problems. But generally, most of them don't have money problems. But these mid-range guys do. Or mid to low range guys do. And just know it's not going to be your career. It's just not. So any other advice I'd give them to those AAA guys? Yeah.
Minor league, they're actually rookie leaguers, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay, gotcha. Then just to give it everything so that they can develop up. And whatever they do in terms of their behaviors and developing themselves, they can use those behaviors in the next phase of their life.
Still,
So if it's teammanship, if it's keeping your patience about stuff, if it's just keeping focused at 110% on what you want to accomplish, those are all components that are needed in the workplace, whether you own your business or whether you're in a corporation.
Still, though, I do want to ask you about what luxuries. I mean, yeah, if you were given a signing bonus, and I remember a 24th rounder once getting a $400,000 bonus. I thought that was a little bit much, but the team was trying to keep. Yeah, they were trying to keep him out of playing college baseball at Kansas, I believe. So that was the case right there. And so that was a nice, that was a nice chunk of change for a 24th round draft choice. But anyway, where I'm going with this is, though, somebody signs a contract, they do have a chunk of change in their hand. I'm reminded of, let's say, Butch Weiniger. There's a name from the past. But they was once asked, what did you buy with your bonus? And he said, yeah, I bought a Camaro because at the time I was the only guy who was taking a bus to school. I was a high school senior. I needed a car. Yeah. In that situation, okay, I think you'd like, especially if you have a chunk of change, something more than the jalopy that most of the high school kids play, or that most of the high school students are going to be driving. What would you recommend? What's practical in that situation?
Mean for a car?
Yeah. Let's say, because we can see that. Or a party. Hey, you want to throw a party and all that. Okay, maybe you don't want to go down, assuming you're 18 years old, and I guess there are bars or something like that, you're 21. Maybe it's not the best thing to do to go to the local gentleman's club, make it rain, and all of a sudden you're down 20,000, or take a trip out with all your homies to Vegas. But let's start with that. First of all, what would be a practical car for someone who signs a bonus? Not a Ferrari, but...
I would look at, this is a good question, I haven't been asked it before, but I would look at something that's kind of cool, like a cool car, but that's not expensive. So in Los Angeles for a long time, a cool car was like the Honda Civic, the new ones. They were, all the young guys were the good, they had lovely clothes on, so that was considered a cool car. So I would go in that direction, not the bling direction. Because if it's bling and tricked out, it could be easily $100,000, $150,000, $200,000 for a car. And, that just doesn't make sense to me. We looked up Lamborghinis. Lamborghinis are like from $250,000 to $500,000 and stuff like that. And that's the buying and the maintenance and it's a cash, it's a money pit. So I would not suggest anything that's blingy. But I would suggest maybe a convertible. There's a lot of convertibles that are kind of great and fun. A Mustang convertible, in fact, probably is not horribly expensive. I just don't know what they cost. But a Volkswagen convertible, they're fun. I've driven one of those. That's a blast. So, or any kind of used car, like even the Porsches that are used. They're nice and they are a little more expensive, but they're fun. And you can buy old ones. You don't have to buy a new one.
And so that would be the other thing I would say is, like I said, probably not the best thing to take. You've got the bonus 20 year, your buddy's out. Here's $1,000 to gamble and go to Vegas. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
giving you
right.
that. Okay, that's not the best. But hey, you've just signed you're going to be a pro athlete. You're going to be out on your own your first time. You got to have some sort of a celebration. What's a good thing for lack of a better term, your homies to do once you sign that contract?
Yeah, I would go to my local bar, bring my friends, and it's on me. And tell the bartender, okay, go up to $1,500 tonight. That's it.
Okay, so there you go. You figure
I
out,
would do something like that. I wouldn't go to Vegas because it then becomes like an entourage. It then becomes you're just paying for everybody's rooms. It's gone. I mean, can you imagine? Just do some I asked them to, keep a calculator, keep that calculator app open on your cell phone because I want you to calculate what this stuff costs. And their friends will have all these great ideas on how they can spend their money. But truthfully, it's not their friend's decision. It's the player's decision. He, in this case, he has really worked hard to get where he is. And it should be what he wants.
Sure, you get that and such. And anyway, and you would help, idea of, okay, you've got this, let's start investing this. This is a good stock, this one isn't. This is a good business to invest in, this one is not. That would be some of the things that you would also do, Lorenda Phillips?
I do not. I don't do that. I mean, it's a really good question. I really help the guys what they should be looking at and what if they're interested in. I give them assessments. I really kind of coach them in what's next for them. So, what are they interested in? What are they good at? I have all kinds of different ideas to present to them. They can choose. They can say, no, I don't want any of that. I'm connected with franchise brokers. I myself have been a business coach for many, many years, so I can help them in that area too. I know I have a whole bunch of professional services that they can utilize. So like a counselor, if one wants to go back to school and doesn't know how many units he's had, I have a counselor on staff that can find out what that is and then what is needed or how to apply to the college nearby or whatever is needed in that area. So I help go in those areas. Now, do I have a financial services person? Yes, I have several that I have vetted myself and I have pointed to. But I never say, use that person. I always say, here's 3. You vet them and you vet 2 more. Do not take one person. And PAs, there's horror stories about the PAs that...
player agent? Is that what your PA?
The player agent, the player agent recommendation. So I will not exclusively take a player's, a union's recommendation. So so that's my advice on that. And in terms of stocks and what to pick, that is not at all what I do. So just so you know,
okay,
that's
no.
not at all. But I do have experts that can help, and they can the players can either use those experts or their own that they've chosen.
Okay.
So I help them. Like I'll say, okay, well, what have you done to vet that person? Oh, what do you mean vet? Work out. What is it that they've done? What is their track record? Oh, I don't know. It's just so and so and so and so told me to do. No, that's not a vet. That's not good enough to vet. These are the questions you ask. So I help them help themselves. I get really good people behind them.
I need to say that your book, Star Power in Retirement, How to Turn a Few Years of Playing Pro Sports into a Lifetime of Wealth, Influence, and Fame by Lorenda Phillips. You've got a second one coming up called Life and Money for Former Pro Athletes. And that sounds a little bit like a very sectioned audience. So let's say somebody around here in the Tri-Cities, Tennessee area, they've got a few thousand to bank from working hard or inheritance or whatever it is. How would these books help those people out in managing their money that they've now just found?
Yeah, and by the way, the first book that you mentioned, Star Power in Retirement, is on my website, www.retiredfromsports.com, and you can click on already, and it's very small, is identify several of the problems, the money problems, the health problems, the identity and purpose problems, the structure problems. Even Kobe said one of the problems he was going to have in retirement was that every day for 20 years he went to the gym at a certain time. He was no longer going to do that. So that's a gift for him, big time. But just simply that. So I identify the problems, and then I identify some of the solutions, like what needs to take place. I talk a lot about mindset. I talk a lot about making relationships work. But and then I have a little plan in the back. You know how they can do their plan, and they can access me, and we can get into contract and see what I can. You know, I have a conversation if I can make a difference in what they want to do. So there's that.
But now that we get the idea here. I've got to take a break. I'm way overdue here. She's Lorenda Phillips. Check out that website. You can read that book then, retiredfromsports.com, and see about, hopefully preventing some people from being the next Ernie Lombardi or Zoilo Versailles, who are some old-time athletes, just to go back into the day, who, they did have some trouble in their post-playing careers. Back with a final thought on where you should eat dinner tonight after this.